This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome. You are in the lab room, of course. I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 16 in the National Football League. New Orleans Saints at home taking on the Atlanta Falcons, NFC South family business. Big matchup within the division. It's really simple for the Saints. Win out, you win the division. Simple for the Falcons as well. Win out, you win the division. And it's a scenario where if the Saints win this game, they have a chance to still get to 500 and salvage what has been one of the worst divisions of all time. Okay? All time. Now, you hate to throw that out there because that NFC West back in the day when the Seattle Seahawks won at 7-9, that was a bad division as well. So, don't want to say that this one was the worst of all time, but this division has been treacherous. I mean, this division has been egregious all season long. And the thing I've hung my hat on with this division is the fact that at some point somebody's going to get hot. Because coming into the season, there were offensively gifted football teams in this division, most notably Atlanta and New Orleans. And the first game of the season, these two teams played each other, and I think the score was 37-34, either 37-34 or 31-34. Either way, it was a three-point contest. Falcons won. Late in the game, Colston fumble leads to a Falcons field goal to win that game, I believe, in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, that was what I thought we were going to get from these two teams all season long. High-flying, high-scoring offenses. Defenses, maybe they show up, maybe they don't, but the offense is going to be there just about every week, barring injuries, of course. And so with these teams, you've been somewhat disappointed with the offensive production, especially with New Orleans. Atlanta, they've picked it up over the last month or so, and they've started to show what I thought they could be all season long. Defensively, we knew it was going to be a struggle for them, but they've been playing better football of late. And I had hitched my wagon to New Orleans, middle of the season. They get to 4-4 at week number 9. And I'm thinking, all right, they found their stride. They've hit it. They go on the road. They wax Carolina on a Thursday night. They seem to have seized control of this division that was really bad at the time. Nobody was over 500 until they hit the 500 mark. And so I thought 3 straight home games, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Baltimore, all coming up. They've got a chance to go home and right the ship. At least win 2 out of those 3. Hell, if nothing else, get 1 of those. They lose all 3, and then my whole perception of New Orleans changed. They go on the road, they beat Pittsburgh, but then they come back home and they get trolloped by Carolina 41-10. And at that point, that's when I turned my back. Arms folded, back turned to the New Orleans Saints. I don't want to hear it. I don't have anything else to say to you. So I took my wagon and I unhooked it from the Saints and I hitched it to the Falcons because even in defeats, they were looking ultra impressive. I mean, what they were able to do to the Green Bay Packers on the road, that's impressive despite it being a loss. To put up 37 in that environment, they were down 17 at 24-7. They could have easily rolled over and allowed the Packers to trounce them in that game. Instead, they stood up, they fought, they put up 37 and gave themselves a chance. That showed me that this team was starting to hit their stride offensively. They do some things down the stretch, aren't able to beat Pittsburgh, but they hang in some ball games. They beat Arizona. They did some things that made me open my eyes and say, you know what? These Falcons are for real and they're getting their act together. And defensively, I said to myself, they're not that bad. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback, but they're coming along. I like the secondary. The young fellas on the edges in Alford and Trufant have started to step up. They're making plays on the football. If William Moore could ever come back, get healthy, stay healthy, and with the way that Dwight Lowry was playing, I said, man, the secondary isn't half bad. I love me some Worrilow. I love me some Paul Worrilow, man. That guy right there, free agent in the offseason, they need to find a way to re-sign him. If not, I'll take him. If you don't want him, I'll take him. He's a machine. And so I said, man, they're coming along. If they could ever just generate just a tiny bit of pass rush defensively, who knows? We'll see. But this game had a lot on the line. If the Falcons could win this game, it would set up a huge Week 17 matchup versus Carolina. Carolina playing Cleveland in Carolina. If they win that game and the Falcons win this game, the winner of that game in Week 17 in Atlanta would be the NFC South champion. If New Orleans won this game, they would have to win next week at Tampa to wrap up this division. So a lot on the line here. Every game counts. And the reason why I feel like Atlanta deserves to win this division, they're undefeated in the division coming into this game at 4-0. Hell, if somebody's going to win this division with a sub-500 record, at least dominate the competition within the division. Nobody's done it better than Atlanta right now coming into this game at 4-0 in the division. A win here makes them 5-0. A win next week, which would win them the division, would give them a perfect 6-0 slate within the division. That's what I'm talking about. If you're going to win it in style. And so here we are, 5-9 Falcons, 6-8 Saints. A lot on the line. Division could be at stake with this game. So 99-yard opening kickoff return by Jalen Sanders down to the 1-yard line. I mean, if you're going to start a game off fast, can't start much faster than that other than him going that extra yard and going 100 and getting in the end zone. Very next play, a 1-yard touchdown by Mark Ingram, and it's 7-0 Saints. You can't start the game any better than that if you're the Saints. I mean, what more do you want? You're up 7-0. Crowd is in the game. You got all the momentum in the world. And that's exactly, if you're Sean Payton, that's what you want. You want to get off to the fast start. You want to give yourself a chance. There you go. There you have it. So now you need to come out defensively and make a statement. And the Falcons respond with a field goal. It's Julio Jones announces his presence in this game early on. Remember, he didn't play last week against Pittsburgh. Sat out with that hip pointer that he sustained against Green Bay on that Monday night. Well, he's back this game, still sore, not 100%. Wasn't going to play a whole bunch of snaps. Was going to give you all he had in the snaps that he did play. And I'm here to tell you, after this game, Julio Jones is now officially my favorite receiver in this league. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, he can jump, he can run, he catches the football with the best of them, and he blocks too. He's a competitor. He was banged up. He was on one hip in this game, and he went out and he balled out. I'm a Julio Jones fan right now as we stand here, or as I stand here talking to you. I'm a Julio Jones fan, and he's my favorite receiver in the league right now. This guy is a beast. And so, he gets a 22-yard grab on 1st and 20. That's why I said, okay, he's here to play. I mean, he goes up, climbs the ladder, and comes down with the football. Then Devontae Freeman smokes Curtis Lofton down the sideline for 37 to set up a field goal as the Falcons couldn't get in the end zone. It's 7-3. Saints on top, but the Falcons looked good moving the football down the field on that possession. And the thing I still wanted to see, because it was funny, the two commentators during the game, John Lynch and Burkhardt, were both saying that they thought it was going to be a high-scoring game. I'm like, that's the thing I don't like about the national media, especially the guys doing the game. They're so busy doing all of the other games. I mean, they don't have time to sit and watch the Saints all season long. They don't have time to watch the Falcons. They're going off of what they know previously, what they've known in the past. They thought that this was going to be a high-scoring game because they just looked at the stats and looked at the defenses and said, oh yeah, this is going to be a high-scoring game. Whoever has the ball last wins, yada, yada, yada. And I said, come on, guys. You haven't been watching these two, have you? This game isn't going to be high. The Saints are struggling offensively. Don't let what you've seen from this team in the past fool you. This is a team struggling to score, especially when they're at home. They're better off going on the road and trying to win. Because right now, at home, they don't know how to get it done. But I knew this was going to be a lower scoring game, especially that first one had fireworks beginning of the season. I didn't expect this to be anywhere remotely close to that game. And so to see these teams kind of bog down offensively and this thing kind of slow down, it's what I expected this game to kind of be. And so the Saints look to go for it from the Atlanta 35-yard line on 4th and 2 when backup left tackle Bryce Harris jumps false start, makes it 4th and 7 from the 40. They still go for it. Breeze is picked off by Desmond Trufant, and I always almost do that. I always almost call him Marcus Trufant. But I talked about this secondary in Atlanta. Desmond Trufant, Robert Alford didn't play in this game, but another guy played by the name of Robert who stepped up and made a huge play. We'll talk about him a little bit later on in the game. But these Falcon corners in the secondary are starting to step up, and guys are starting to play some good football, and they're starting to get it. Those young boys we drafted a couple of years ago, they're starting to get it. And now I feel like the Falcons they have some building blocks defensively. They just need to put some more pieces to that puzzle together in order to get it all gelled together. But I tell you what, that young fella stepped in front of that pass, and he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I like Desmond Trufant. I like him a lot. And he was able to pick that off. And then Kenny Stills gets into it. This division seems to fight more than any other division I've seen all season long. The Saints have been in a couple of skirmishes. The Panthers and the Falcons, I remember, they got into it in Carolina. These teams seem to get into it all the time, these NFC South teams, that is. And so it was a little skirmish. It got nasty. Kenny Stills got a little physical. Let's get physical, physical. Down at the bottom of the pile, he picks up a personal foul penalty. So Falcons in business with great field position off of the interception and subsequent personal foul penalty. We go to the second quarter with that field position for the Falcons. They're able to get a field goal. I thought it was a terrible pass interference, OPI, offensive pass interference call on the Devontae Freeman screen. He catches a screen, gets up the field. They call a offensive pass interference for somebody blocking. I want to say it was Harry Douglas or Devin Hester, one of the two, blocking. They were literally at the line of scrimmage. You can block at the line of scrimmage. You can't go beyond a yard and start blocking, but you can block at the line of scrimmage. They were at the line of scrimmage before the ball was caught, and I just thought that it was a terrible call. And that penalty, 10 yards backwards, it really put a halt to that Falcons drive that had some promise. Looked like they were going to try to get in the end zone. Instead, got to settle for a 50-yard Matt Bryant field goal. He drills it, and he was dealing with, it seemed like flu-like symptoms or something like that. He didn't seem to be all that well on the sidelines. They talked about him not feeling well, but he was knocking back the flu. The guy still came out. He's a professional. Came out, did his job, hammers home his second field goal of the day. It's 7-6. Now, the Saints only up 1. And again, this is what I expected. If not for that 99-yard Jalen Saunders kickoff return, this game is probably 6-0 Falcons, because the Saints struggle to score. I'm not convinced that they have scored in this game if not for that kickoff return. But it's 7-6 nonetheless. Falcons trailing by 1. Dwight Lowry blitzes Drew Brees, is able to grab him, and while he's got him, he pokes the ball free from behind. Great play by Dwight Lowry. Very instinctual play too. Very smart to say, all right, I got him in my grasp. He's not going anywhere. Let me see if I can't get this ball loose. Nice bolo punch from behind. Pokes it free. Ball goes backwards about a good 8 to 9 yards. And that forces the Saints to have to punt the football after that was going to be a promising drive. They were already in field goal range. That sack pushed them out of field goal range. They had to punt the football. Falcons finish off the first half with a gorgeous marathon drive. Their longest drive of the season. In fact, 15 plays. 89 yards, capped by a 3-yard Eric Weems shovel pass touchdown. This was a beautifully orchestrated drive in which Julio Jones, with 2 huge third down grabs, he was destroying this Saints secondary on one hip. Again, this dude is the truth. He's endeared himself to me. I love me some Julio Jones, and this guy, to me, right now, best receiver in all of football. It's halftime with the Falcons taking the lead on that late drive, 13-7. They're dominating this game, if you ask me. Again, if not for the Jalen Saunders kickoff return for a touchdown, this is 13-0. The Saints have done a lot of nothing offensively. They've moved the ball a little bit, but had some mistakes. The sack by Dwight Lowry and the forced fumble on that play knocked them out of field goal range there. They've been able to pick up a couple of first downs, but never really sustained the offense in this first half. It's 13-7. Falcons lead. We go to the third quarter. Julio! Over 100 yards receiving in the game. And again, on a snap count, on limited snaps, there would be times where he wouldn't be in for 5-6 plays straight. Show up, catch a football, leave the game, come back, catch another football, then leave. You wouldn't see him for a possession and a half. He was doing work in the limited snaps that he did have. He was making them count. And so on this possession, had a couple of big grabs, broke a tackle, got up the field, continues to gash the Saints defensively, and again, over 100 yards in the game. And so his plays helped set up a 31-yard Devontae Freeman touchdown gallop as he's able to cut the ball back against the grain, find the hole, jump over the would-be tackle of a Saints corner, and outrun their defense into the end zone. It's now 20-7. Falcons are dominating this game, and right now, if the Saints don't do something and do it fast, Falcons are going to run away with this game in New Orleans. It's 20-7 as we head to the fourth quarter. Saints are on the move at the end of the third. As we enter the fourth quarter, they're right there in scoring range. Desmond Southward and Kamal Ishmael keep Jimmy Graham out of the end zone. He's at the half-inch line, literally a half of an inch away from scoring. I mean, you could argue that he got across the plane. It's so hard to tell. I thought that whatever the call on the field was, it was going to stand. If they would have called it a touchdown, it would have been a touchdown. They ruled it a fumble. I thought it was the right call, to be honest with you. But had they called it a touchdown, I wouldn't have been able to argue either way, and neither would you. That was so close of a play, but they rip it out. Honestly, I think they should have called for a progress stop because he wasn't going for it any longer. And he's such a big guy, though. You never know. He could have spun out of the tackle, stretched the ball over the goal line. You just never know. So they didn't blow it dead from a forward progress standpoint. Maybe they should have, but they didn't. Ball comes out. Kamal Ishmael scoops it up, takes it back to about the 25-yard line. Saints are in, or excuse me, Falcons are now in business after that huge play. That was a magnificent play by the Falcons to keep him out of the end zone, and it was a gigantic play in the grand scheme of the game. Again, remember, it's 20-7. Touchdown there cuts it to 20-14, and then what follows leads you to believe that the Saints had a little bit of momentum. If they score there, they get the football back, score again, they could have taken the lead. And so Saints get back into the game with a 12-play, 84-yard drive, and Drew Brees 8 of 11 on the drive, including a 5-yard back shoulder fade touchdown to Jimmy Graham. He's the man, despite him not playing like a man in this game in a couple instances where he alligator armed one pass and he dropped a couple. I mean, he hasn't seemed right all season long, and I don't know if he's playing with a lack of confidence or I don't know what he's doing, but right now this isn't the Jimmy Graham we've come accustomed to. He's struggling, but either way, he is able to catch this pass in the end zone. It's 20-14 now. Saints back in this game. Then the Falcons pick up a huge gain on a wide receiver screen to Harry Douglas, which gives them great field position. They don't do anything with the drive, but they do flip the field position and pin the Saints deep on the punt. And on the ensuing possession, Drew Brees picked off, and I talked about one Robert subbing in for another. No Robert Alford in this game. Robert McClain steps up in a huge way, ginormous play by Robert McClain as he steps in front of a Drew Brees offering deep in Saints territory at the 13-yard line to give the Falcons the play that they needed, because all the momentum rests with the Saints at this time in the game. That pick put them in a position to eat up clock, force the Saints to use their timeouts, and allow the Falcons to kick a field goal, extend the lead out to 9-2 possession game. And with limited time and resources, no timeouts, not a lot of time left, it's going to be hard for the Saints to come back and try to win this football game. So that was a humongous play by Robert McClain. And the pressure applied by O.C. Umenyiora was to thank. And I think the difference in this game was the Falcons defense. 5 Falcon sacks in this game. They came into the game with 16 on the season. So literally a third of their season's total they had in this game with 5. They stepped up, they got pressure, and this is the most times they've ever sacked Drew Brees in a game. And so that just speaks to how well they played defensively. Rashid Hagman was huge in this game. He got pressure. Corey Peters got a sack. They were all over Drew Brees in this game, collapsed in the pocket. Babineau was in there a couple of times. The defensive line stepped up is what they did. And then to finish it off, the 5th sack of the game put an exclamation point on the victory for the Falcons as from behind, Warrilow hits Drew Brees as he's trying to buy more time in the pocket. Ball comes out. O.C. Umenyiora scoops it and scores it. 88-yard touchdown return as time expires in the fourth quarter to end this one in grand fashion as the Atlanta Falcons sweep the New Orleans Saints 30-17, capture the season series, both victories over these Saints were the catalyst for the Saints now being eliminated from playoff contention, and huge win for the Falcons. I told you I hitched my wagon to the Falcons. I thought this team would get it done. I said that. I told you I turned my back on the Saints, and this is why right here. They can't get it done at home. Falcons have been playing really good football, and I saw this one coming. They win this one 30-14 and get it done in convincing fashion in New Orleans. Sets up a huge Week 17 matchup versus Carolina. That one is for all the marbles in the NFC South division for the Saints. Very disappointing campaign. Think some things are going to change in the offseason, including maybe defensive coordinator Rob Ryan maybe not even being back. I don't know. Him and Sean Payton seem to butt heads on the sidelines a few times. That could just be competitive juices flowing during the course of the game. Those two are fine. Who knows? But I know this season has been an abject disaster and failure for this Saints team. And to me, I know, look, I don't want to say it anymore, but I'm going to say it one final time. Darren Sproles, to me, is your answer. I mean, they talk about all the veteran leadership or lack thereof because of all the guys that were let go in the offseason. To me, I just point to one guy. You know, you can miss me with the Will Smith talk. You can miss me with the Jonathan Vilma. He was on the sideline today. You can miss me with the Jonathan Vilma talk. Those guys never really played. They didn't have an impact on his team. To me, you ask me the guy that could change the game that's no longer there, I'll tell you it's Mighty Mike. It's Darren Sproles, and he's not there, and this offense suffered because of it. Once Brandon Cooks left this lineup about week 10, 11, I said this team is finished. I mean, he was the one guy that was doing things that could change the game. He was explosive. They could move him around like a chess piece. Hard to game plan for him. He was making plays. He breaks his hand. He leaves the lineup, and so does the life of this Saints offensive football team. And so it is what it is. Saints dropped to 6-9 on the season. They're done this year. They've got one final game against Tampa Bay. Nobody will be watching that game. Meanwhile, all eyes will be in Atlanta as Carolina and Atlanta duel it out for NFC South supremacy in week number 17. That's going to do it for Falcons and Saints. I thank you for joining me. That happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down week number 16 in the National Football League. See you in a bit.